Hello, friends. Let's eat everything in Japan.
I don't have
I want to see if you can count how many spots we ate at. I documented every single thing we ate, and I'll tell you which ones are good and which ones you can pass on. This is from our Japan trip back in February, and yeah, it took me quite a while to work on. Vlogs are hard. We'll wander the streets to find random food, and someone may fall victim to food poisoning later this week. Okay, grab a snack and let's eat. We're on a train bound for Kyoto. By the way, we have nothing planned for this whole trip except for one restaurant in Kyoto. So for our bullet train meals, I always went for a seafood bento because 1, I'm in Japan, and 2, there's no way I would get away with eating this on public transportation back at home. And this meal was not bad. It's like a grown-up school meal. I also scored this mochi stick at a nearby stand. It's slathered with sweet edamame paste. I highly recommend trying it. I was obsessed. When we arrived in Kyoto, we dropped off our bags at the hotel and got down to business. And by business, I mean we wandered the market for snacks.
Stop pork.
It's chicken thigh.
That's chicken skin.
Next, we stopped at this seafood skewer spot. It didn't look that great, but they refry or re-grill your skewers of choice and then they season it. The breaded fish looked like it was gonna be dry, but it's actually really, really good. We only got 2 skewers split between the 4 of us, and then we moved on.
Okay, cheers.
Unplanned trips can be super fun because you don't know what to expect. But then you can also get stuck with some sad food. I saw a lot of strawberry daifuku, but my first one had cold, tough mochi. And some donut flavors we had later were forgettable. Except for the hojicha donut, that one was pretty good.
But the mochi is cold and thick.
Okay, random. This spot called Koi Donuts has Einstein as their mascot. I thought it was strange, but then I found out that Einstein has a theory about radioactive donuts. Next stop is izakaya. It's a Japanese bar where you can order drinks and a variety of foods to eat with those drinks. Here I tried non-alcoholic beer for the first time. It was crisp and it tasted like you sucked the soul out of real beer. But I'm really here for the food. From the stews to offal, everything we had tasted better than it looked. And this is why I love izakaya. We're able to get a variety of dishes that we could try. This spot, just like everything else, was unplanned, and we just went because it was nearby. Now, I know that matcha ice cream is super popular. You're gonna see a lot of it in Japan. But hear me out. Instead of matcha, try the other tea flavors as well. You might end up liking them more. Here we got 2 flavors, hojicha and genmaicha. Both had a nice toasty flavor, which is what sets them apart from matcha. Doug's brother did get the matcha, which was still good. Bonus, his came with warabi mochi, which is chewy like mochi but made with bracken starch, which is a different starch. However, I still prefer the other 2 ice cream flavors.
I bite it. Bugs people.
That was just a little snack. That doesn't really count as main dessert. I am obsessed with Japanese desserts. Maybe because the textures remind me of Filipino desserts? I think this was at least my 3rd anmitsu on this trip. I know we just had ice cream, but Doug ordered more matcha ice cream, and I'm also really into the tea-flavored jellies these dessert shops keep serving. They're silky soft, and nothing here was ever too sweet. That's how they get ya.
These jellies are really good. They're better than the ones that we had in pizza.
Also, I noticed that they'll serve just plain matcha drinks at these shops.
Tastes like grass.
I feel like at home, shops only serve sweetened matcha lattes, rarely just pure matcha. I wonder, will we ever adopt this back home? This is the only spot we planned in this whole trip. It's still in Kyoto, and this place is super tucked away. Even our taxi driver didn't know where we were heading. Our friend got reservations for Monk, which was in Chef's Table Pizza. I felt like I was transported to a cozy home in the middle of a forest. We had a set course meal brimming with local produce. The dishes seemed to lean into a lot of vegetables, which I enjoyed. They seemed simple but had complexity and flavor. And they're in Chef's Table Pizza for a reason. The very first flatbread, I don't know if it's considered a pizza, didn't have any sauce, but it was a flavor explosion. And since there were 4 of us, we were able to try 4 different pizzas. If you appreciate local produce, the best grape juice I've ever had, and a serene experience over pizza, this is the spot. The next day, we hopped onto another bullet train, this time bound for Osaka. Again, we headed to another market on the hunt for random food to try. We passed by a shop that sold white strawberries. I looked it up to see what it tasted like. Apparently, it's thought to be sweeter than red strawberries and tastes tropical. Instead, it tasted like you sucked the soul out of a red strawberry. Did we just get a bad one?
Not worth the $8.
No, I mean, it's good. It's good, but I always have a big juicy red one. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we went to eat okonomiyaki, but they did not allow videos. Here's the spot though, in case you wanted to check it out. And since you're still counting how many things we've eaten, right? Right. It's 3 p.m., which means coffee. I found one that made me feel like I was in BioShock Infinite mixed with Murder on the Orient Express. Here you get the fanciest coffees and you get to pick the method of brewing. You can do a siphon, drip, AeroPress, etc. And they even give you souvenir cards that remind you of the coffee that you had. All I know is if I can drink the coffee black and like it, it's great coffee. We also tried their coffee jelly dessert and cheesecake. I did not have high hopes for either of these, but the coffee jelly was refreshing and you could really taste the coffee. The cheesecake was super light and melt in your mouth. I'd go back here again. And then there was a long line out the door after we left. I think this is a popular spot. Does this place look familiar? For dinner, we headed to Dotonbori, which is a super popular district in Osaka for tourists like us. Apparently, here we'll find good takoyaki, octopus balls. There was a long line at this shop, so it should be good, right? Nah, maybe I'm spoiled with good takoyaki back at home. Maybe it was a bad day. To be fair, they were out of the spicy fish eggs mayo sauce, which was their most popular flavor. But even then, I thought that takoyaki texture was soggy and it was a little too salty. Weirdly enough, I like my local Japanese market's takoyaki just as good. I just expected more from being in Osaka and everything, you know? Silly tourist. We were still a bit hungry and disappointed, and I wanted some Japanese sweet potatoes. I've had them before, they're so sweet, it's like having creamy candy. I skipped the smaller stall of plain sweet potatoes because I found a cafe that put toppings on theirs. I chose maple honey and it was way too sweet. Then the server told us we had to order 2 things since there were 2 of us, so I got corn tea. Dinner was sad, but we still have most of the week for redemption. Next time, I recommend just getting a plain sweet potato. Hey, if you're still there, would you tell me in the comments, should I make a video eating Starbucks food around the world? Because the Starbucks here and in the Philippines had some cool local menu items. Here they are again with the bullet train bentos. This time we're heading to Hiroshima with the bentos, strawberry daifuku, which can hopefully redeem my previous one. Oh, and miratashi dango. It's my first time having this and wow. The rice balls were silky, the flavor was smoky from the grilling, and sweet and salty from the sauce. Someone recommended I try the Starbucks matcha latte and it was pretty good. Still a bit too sweet to my liking, but better than the ones I've had at home. Their matcha donut though, it's filled with a matcha custard. Get it. Chowing down, this is Doug's bento, and here's my bento. Honestly, they're all kind of starting to look the same at this point, except this one has strange gray stuff on it that I thought would be konjac or something. What is this gray stuff? It's delicious. I think this is called dorayaki. Doug's brother got it from 7-Eleven and he raves about it. Pancake is good and sweet on its own, but the additional jelly-like maple syrup in the middle makes it too sweet for me. But Doug likes it. Okay, this daifuku looks promising. It feels soft to the touch, unlike the last one. Turns out the mochi was silky and restored my faith in daifuku.
children, basically.
My God.
It was textbooks that told me about the atom bomb, Hiroshima, and Nagasaki, but visiting is a totally different experience. Seeing people alive and walking around really put into perspective the actual lives that were lost. Reading from a textbook kind of dulls all of that. Here there are monuments built for peace and memorials for the victims, but as beautiful as our stroll was, there was a somberness that just never went away. Not gonna lie, it was pretty heavy. After that, we needed to have a little break and recharge, so we grabbed some complimentary hotel coffee and snacked on some breads. They were okay, nothing spectacular. Maybe I was just sad.
Anything strawberry flavored that I've had so far is delicious.
This has blue cheese in it. But it's like a overcooked piece of bread.
Izakaya again, but this time we're trying something for the first time. Yeah, believe it or not, Doug and I have had the fish sperm before. We had it at a Japanese restaurant back at home and they didn't tell us what it was, but it was actually pretty good. It's creamy. As you can see, we also had a variety of other dishes, all of which were delicious. Izakaya spots were my favorite to visit in Japan for this reason. They rarely disappoint. Anyway, this izakaya visit was where we had a taste of horse sashimi for the first time.
Take pieces. They're ginger and garlic. Use one or the other.
Okay.
Some garlic, and just wrap it. Taste the soy sauce on its own, just totally different.
It tastes like when I eat tuna, and then when I order a steak that's like medium rare at the same time. It doesn't really taste gamey to me. It's a little bit tougher to chew through it because it's lean, but if you like to order your steak medium rare, I would eat it.
Years ago, I found out that there was a raw horse meat ice cream, and ever since then, I was curious about raw horse flavor. And yeah, it's nothing crazy. I bet the ice cream's crazy. Our friend Terry got us reservations for this spot that specializes in eel bento boxes. You kind of need it, the whole menu's in Japanese, but I do have Google Translate. You take your shoes off and sit crisscross applesauce on the floor. You get this fun set of food that goes with the eel and a list of suggested instructions on how to eat it. You take some of the garnishes, place it on the eel, and eat it. They even provide this hot broth to mix with the rice and eel, which turns it into a soup. The flavor of the eel itself was pretty good. The only thing is, the bones in the one that I ordered were not soft enough. Kinda bothers me. Doug and his brother didn't mind though, they loved it, so I'm neutral about this one. Since the moment I met Doug years ago, he hasn't stopped raving about this Japanese donut chain that I finally get to try today. Mr. Donut is known for their ponda ring donuts or mochi ring donuts. They had a wide variety of mochi donut flavors, but they also had the classic types of donuts. I was gonna stick with the ponda ring flavors, but they have a strawberry flavor on a normal donut, and every strawberry flavor we've had so far was incredible. Apparently not this one. If you've never had a mochi donut before, it's chewier than a standard donut. These ones are made really well because they're light and airy too. I like them. There's been a lot of mochi donut shops that have cropped up near us that are just as good, so I'm glad that we can get these at home too. It's just not Mr. Donut brand.
I wish there was more strawberry, but it's okay. Congratulations, you did it! World's best coffee!
I didn't know I had to stand in line to get the coffee. It's so organized here. Back at home, like everyone was just kind of standing around. My bad.
Where are we going, Doug?
Going to Miyajima Island. We're gonna go see a floating torii gate and explore some of the local eateries.
Okay, cool.
Miyajima is an island just an hour away from Hiroshima, so we figured might as well check it out. We only stayed for a few hours to see what's up, but you can totally sleep on the island and explore for a couple of days. I don't have food. The first food stall we saw had skewered oysters with miso and yuzu paste. We had high hopes for this one, but it just wasn't as flavorful as we thought it would be. Womp womp. Then we wandered around the island to see iconic shrines and temples until we got to a really crowded area. This must be where the good food is. Our friend recommended this spot, which specializes in oysters. In the front, you'll see someone grilling a bunch of huge oyster shells, but as we got closer, we noticed that they serve oysters in many different ways. Will these redeem the first oysters we had? We couldn't decide what we wanted, so we each ordered our own oyster sets. They had oysters prepared 3 different ways each. Oh my gosh, these oysters are on another level. They're so plump and fat and juicy. If you do come here, I highly recommend getting the one in the sauce. It's so flavorful that we just ended up dipping the other oysters that we had in that sauce. For the final hour, we walked the quiet streets and grabbed a snack that's popular to Hiroshima and Miyajima.
This one is yuzu red bean, and this one is cheese.
I know we only tried 2 of them, but you gotta get the cheese flavor. Trust.
It's good.
Yeah?
Besides like a maple pancake, kind of like a McGriddle.
I like this one because it's sweet and salty. It's like having like a ginger orange red bean.
I wasn't a fan of the yuzu red bean, but Doug liked it. I would have gotten in line again for the cheese one, but we had to rush to the ferry and head back to Osaka. Oh yeah, I found a tiny bread shop tucked away before we entered the train station. Bonus! This shokuban was laced with sweet red bean and successfully redeemed the not-so-great breads that we had earlier. I was resistant to eating at a revolving sushi bar. I think of cheap, thinly sliced pieces of fish that lack flavor. At least that's what I've experienced back at home. But from what I've heard from other people, they're pretty good in Japan. Also, Doug really wanted to go. These slices look pretty fat and thick.
That's so good.
I don't know if all revolving sushi spots in Japan do this, but you can order from a monitor and they'll make the sushi or sashimi you requested. Their fish was fresh and flavorful, and we paid a little over $25 per person. That's it. I'm so glad I tried it. Time for dessert. We never skip dessert. It's cute, right? I wanted more anmitsu or warabi mochi, but we couldn't find any. So we decided to try these ginormous fruit parfaits, but I refused to eat the cream because of my lactose intolerance. Doug didn't mind, and he ate his serving of the melon, the cake, and cream. We woke up the next morning, and Doug wasn't feeling so well. But hey, that's not stopping him from getting a bowl of ramen that our friend highly recommended. We went at around 11 a.m. and we waited in line for 45 minutes. That's pretty short though, considering the line after we left. I've only had one other bowl of ramen while we were here, and it was the first night we landed in Tokyo. We just went to a super casual ramen shop, and the broth was already incredible. That one was tonkotsu or pork broth ramen. Today I got shoyu.
Oh my god. That's fat, dude.
That's super fat.
That is so thick.
It blows my mind how they could make soy sauce and clam broths so concentrated with flavor without being too salty. And they tasted like they had so many layers of flavor in them.
Holy shit.
How do they do it? I get the hype. It's really that good in Japan.
Wow, and truly.
You can really taste the clam. It's really good.
That was the best shio ramen that I've ever had.
It was worth the wait. Here's a shoyu, by the way.
That was the best shoyu ramen I've ever had.
At this point, Doug was out. His stomach felt funny, he was super tired, so he napped for a few hours. So I went off to do my favorite thing. I looked for a dessert shop, specifically a spot that had warabi mochi. I got very lost, but it was worth it. When I got here, it was filled with women, young and old, the patrons and the servers. Best place ever to have a solo date. You're probably wondering, why the obsession with warabi mochi, Janelle? Because I can't get it this good at home. Bracken starch, which is used to make warabi mochi, is super difficult for me to get. I've tried to buy the packets from the Japanese store to make them, but they're made with potato starch and then they have this strange metallic taste to them. I love the soft, silky, and cold jelly texture of warabi mochi. All I need is a little bit of syrup, mountains of kinako powder, and I'm set. I'm so happy. And that's the point, right? That's why I'm here, to eat things that I can't bring back home from Japan. Yes, the food souvenirs are pretty good compared to other cities or countries that I've visited, but the fresh food you can get is almost always gonna be exponentially better. Doug is awake, we're on a food tour, but his stomach feels terrible. I told you we were on a food tour, right? Worst time to have it. He had one bite at the very beginning and tapped out. I tried my best to eat the rest. Izakaya was delicious, but I feel like we've hit up so many great spots that it overshadowed what we ate during this tour. The one memorable thing was the horse sashimi that was served with slices of fat. That was pretty good. Otherwise, the best part of the tour was learning about Japanese culture. I learned that people stick metal balls in their ears to muffle the loud sounds in a pachinko parlor, that you can get all sorts of animals at their pet at stores, and that people can sleep overnight in a 24-hour internet cafe because it's cheaper than a hotel. Last day. I'm feeling pretty refreshed. Doug didn't get to sleep from the food poisoning, so he's pretty tired this day. What do you think the culprit was? Thankfully, it's actually super simple to get around in Japan, and everything went smoothly. Doug just can't eat anything, so I grabbed my final bullet train bento and ate it while he slept. This was my least favorite. I wasn't a fan of the smoked salmon in this one. But I stumbled upon a sweet potato shop that had 5 varieties of sweet potato and nothing else. I asked the shop attendant which one is the best, and this is what he recommended. Everyone, this was ridiculously creamy, and the flavor was as if it was infused with honey. I still dream of this sweet potato today. Phew, that was quite the journey. Did you actually count how many spots we ate at? Feel free to share it in the comments, because I couldn't even keep track. Thanks for watching this vlog that I worked so hard on. I'll see you at our next trip, friend.